Hello and welcome to A Little Crafting. My name is Annie and I am recording this from Surrey in the UK, which is where I live with my husband and my cat Susie. This is my bi-weekly crafting podcast, which mostly focuses on knitting, but I also talk about other things like yarn dyeing, sewing, weaving that I haven't talked about for a while, but I hope you like it here and like everything that I am doing in terms of producing content for YouTube. So today is the 29th of December 2021, so we're almost at the end of the year, and it's been over 2 weeks since I last recorded. I think I was supposed to record last weekend, but we had Christmas and all sorts going on, so I skipped a little bit forward into the latter end of December. And we're almost at the end of 2021 now, so almost there. Hopefully 2022 will be a better year again than 2021, and we'll see how this whole COVID business carries on. So yes, if you want to follow me on social media, I am a_little_crafting on Instagram and Ankiwoo on Ravelry. And please do like and subscribe if you enjoy this episode, and if you'd like to keep watching any of my others as and when I publish them. So let's get started with some actual content, and in true Christmas fashion I am wearing a red and white jumper, but I actually knit this earlier in 2021 and it wasn't necessarily designed to be a Christmas jumper, and the pattern is the Ingalls sweater by Caitlin Hunter, and I have knit this with 3/4 length sleeves. As you can see, I am not sure whether I'm going to keep them that way. I might make some adjustments later. But it's a colourwork yoke basically, and it is knit in Madeline Tosh DK Twist. This is Red Woman and this colour is Paper, and I had a bit of bleeding going on between the red and the white, so it's not quite the off-white that it was before I washed it, but it's absolutely fine, and I do really like the kind of really relaxed fit of this sweater, so I'm quite enjoying that at the moment, and the nice ribbing on the sleeves as well. So yeah, it works for Christmas even though it's got 3/4 length sleeves and it wasn't designed that way. I do also have the Winter Soul sweater by Jennifer Steingass, which I knit in green, white and grey, which everybody thinks is a Christmas sweater too. So so I have two kind of Christmassy sweaters that I can wear at this time of year, but I wore this one for Christmas Day, so I thought I'd wear it today as well. I enjoyed the pattern, but I made some modifications to it. So I actually took out, there was lace detail over the top of the yoke detail and also underneath here, and I am not a big fan of lace and having holes in my sweaters. so I omitted that, and I think it looks great, to be honest. I was inspired by a lady's project on Ravelry that I saw. She's called Eliza Trudd, and she knit this in exactly the same colours as I have, but yeah, I'm a big lover of reds and burgundies, so this is a lovely sweater for me. So let's talk about what I've been making more recently, and if you are a consistent watcher of the podcast, you'll know I have been knitting a sweater for my husband as a Christmas present. So I didn't quite finish it for Christmas Day, and I have finished it now, but there's a problem. So let me start by showing you how it looks at the moment. So it is still being kept in my Antler and Acorn bag, and it is a completed sweater. So I have a sweater here. I mean, the ends haven't been woven in and all of that, but I've finished it off, I've blocked it, and the problem is it doesn't fit him properly on the shoulders and the top part of the sleeves. So these sections here, let me see if I can pull it back a little bit so that you can see. There you go. So basically where you have short row shaping at the top here, rather than it kind of sitting flat and going over his shoulder like mine does here, it puffs up, And then there's this whole section here is also really, really large on him, which surprises me. The rest of the sleeve is fine, but it's just this top part that seems to puff out too much. And I'm pretty sure I followed the directions exactly, and I can't see any issues from anyone else who's had projects on Ravelry, and there's loads and loads of notes from people about changes they've made to the pattern and all sorts. So I'm not really sure what to do. I think part of the problem is that this section across here is maybe a bit too wide for him, so it should actually kind of, I guess, go like that. Don't know if that helps explain what I mean, but the trouble is the top part of the sleeve is the bit that you knit first, so I am potentially going to have to do some sweater surgery. I might check and see if I can either go down a needle size to make it a tighter fit, or maybe go down a size in the pattern and see if that works. But yeah, it's a bit annoying. It surprises me that there's this problem pretty much, but I mean, if we bought a sweater in a shop, I don't think you'd have that issue, so it's interesting. But there we go, that is what's happening at the moment. So it's going in the naughty corner for now. I will have a look at it when I feel like it, but for now it's kind of on the kind of pause period at the moment. I also do need to redo the collar a little bit because it kind of sticks out here. I think I need to sew it rather than sewing the back part first. I'll sew the front part first and then sew the back onto the back of the front, so that it doesn't kind of stick out at the bottom there. But otherwise it is a nice sweater. I'm quite pleased with how I've done. I do like the pattern in general. It was quite difficult to follow at certain points, which is why I am kind of wondering slightly if I've made a mistake. But hi Susie. She's gone over there, it's fine. Interrupting the podcast again. But yeah, it's a shame that you can't just wear it straight away because it looks really odd. But yeah, it's still nice. The yarn that I've used is Dererum Natura Gilliatt, and the pattern is the Cotswold Henley by Meghan Babin. And I wanted to do a Henley sweater because he quite likes these kind of Henley collars in general. So yeah, putting to one side for now. I'll pick it up in a couple of months when I have the energy to do that. But yeah, I am a bit disappointed that it's not done. It's done, but it's not. It's going to have to be remade. I'm really tempted to actually just cast on another sweater for him in a different colour and make him something else that's a bit easier and quicker. But we'll see. I've got plenty of other plans, as you'll see later in the episode. So yeah, that's number one, considering it's a finished object, even though it's not wearable and usable. Number two is something that I don't have anymore because it was a Christmas gift for my mum, but I will pop a picture just here. And that is the Irish Braided Cable Headband, which is a pattern by Grimmet. And as per usual, I used Dererum Natura Gilliatt in the Poivre Blanc colourway, and that was just leftovers that I had from knitting a cardigan in that yarn before. So yeah, that was quite a simple knit, only took me a couple of days, effectively the same as a hat, but it was cabled, and you kind of sewed it together underneath. It was a free pattern, but I had to get it off a specific website and also give them my details so that they could contact me with advertising and things like that in order to get it. But I'll link to that in the description below. And then I do have one other thing, which is a half finished object. And I have the book, The 52 Weeks of Socks, by Liner Publishing, which is this one here. and in it I have picked out possibly the quickest pair of socks to knit in the whole book, and they are the Carapins number 32. I don't think, can I show you? Let's see. You can see that hopefully. There you go. They are a pattern by Rosa Pomar, and they knit up in bulky weight yarn, hence the speed, and then you felt them a little bit just to kind of make them fit as slippers and be a bit stiffer. So I have finished one slipper. Obviously it still needs to be felted, it's a bit floppy at the moment, and I have knit this out of BC Garn Hamelton number 2, which is 100% wool, and yeah, like I said, bulky yarn. I've got colour 108, which is the blue, and 100, which is the kind of off-white colour. So yeah, I thought that was something to show anyway. I will probably have a finished pair by the next time I record, so I can show you those. Yeah, super quick knit. To be honest, the weirdest thing for me is knitting with much larger knitting needles than I'm used to, because I'm such a loose knitter. I tend to use quite small ones, but these ones I have been knitting on 5mm needles, and they feel so bulky. I guess it's just not natural for me to be knitting with something that big anymore in terms of my knitting needles. But there we go. I'll get the other one of these done, stick them in the washing machine for a little bit to felt them, and then yeah, hopefully wear them as lovely slippers for the first part of 2022. We'll see. So yeah, overall nice pattern as well, quite straightforward. I really like the detail on the front where you kind of join up some slip stitches, and it's reverse stockinette, so it's a lot of purling. But yeah, I imagine you could knit these inside out somehow, but it might be a bit awkward to get the shaping for the heel and the toe right. But yeah, looking forward to having those done, keeping my feet nice and cozy. And that is everything in terms of finished objects. So let's move on to works in progress. And I am going to start with something that is in a new bag that I'll talk about in a bit, which is my Hum Levy shawl by Fibre Tales, which I've knit in my own hand-dyed yarn. So again, if you watched the last couple of episodes where I talk about this, I dyed some gold yarn, but I ran out before the end of the shawl, so I had to decide what contrast colour to add in afterwards. And I was umming and ahhing over what I should do, whether I should try and dye some of the same colour, whether I should do kind of just undyed yarn, or green, or some other options. And I ended up going for blue, and that's only because the person who is getting this as a present will be getting this at some point, is a big fan of blue overall. So I thought, you know what, I might as well just put her favourite colour in it rather than just umming and ahhing over all sorts of different options over and over again. So this is kind of the main section with the little bees, and then this is the blue part so far. So I dyed up some of this denim-y blue yarn that I think actually goes really nicely. It almost looks like brass and blue as the colours, and what will happen is that when I finish it off, we'll have a blue V as part of the top area of the shawl when she wears it. So I'm hoping that'll look really good when it's done. And as per usual, I am just whizzing through this because it is just simple stockinette, sorry, simple garter stitch now, just knitting back and forth on the shawl. And I am almost done, I think. Yeah, so it's decreased all the way down to that length, whereas originally it started at that. So yeah, I think I'm getting there, should be done fairly soon, and then I'll have it to show you on the next episode as well. This is, just to say, DK weight yarn, so I quite like a project like that in DK because it's going to be so nice and squishy and warm, and yeah, as usual the bees are so effective, so I highly recommend this pattern if you do want to knit it. It's just lovely, and I really love this yarn. I know I'm kind of tooting my own horn, but this was yarn that I bought from yarnundyed.net in the UK, and it is DK non-superwash, but it's very, very soft still. It doesn't take dye as brightly, but it's really, really nice, really soft, beautiful yarn to use. So yeah, getting there with that one. I will have it done soon, I promise. So yeah, that is that. Making some progress there. And I might as well talk about my Christmas presents as I go. So this bag is, oh, I'm just going to do it up again, a Hide and Hammer number 3, which I got from my husband for Christmas. It is waxed canvas on the outside in this lovely berry colour, and you've got these leather straps to do it up, one to hold it like that, and it rolls up. So what I found yesterday when I popped around a friend's house is that I can put my iPad in here and still do it up because it's so tall. So I put my iPad, my keys, my phone, everything in there with my project, and it's all in one place. I can carry it all together. But it also means that if I'm doing a sweater project or something like that, I can fit quite a lot of yarn in here, still do it up, even though it will be much bulkier overall. So yeah, I am enjoying it so far. Only a few days old, effectively, actually having a project in it. But I also love the colour too. Definitely a beautiful one. So I'm really pleased that I've got that bag in the end. And I wanted a few bigger bags overall. That is that. Next up, so more Christmas presents and projects at the same time. So sitting in this lovely little bird yarn bowl, I'm gonna do a close up. You can see her. This one is by Little Wren Pottery. I was just checking underneath. Little Wren Pottery on Etsy, and I'll link to her in the description below as well. So this is my third yarn bowl, but I saw the little bird in blue and I thought it would go really nicely with my craft room decor. So I thought I'd add this to my Christmas list from my husband's family. So we do a not secret Santa, and I gave them a few options and they bought me this. So I'm really happy with that. But in here, making a bit of a mess, I have a Pearl Soho classic ribbed hat, which is in the Harrisville Nightshades that I got recently. This is in colourway Static, which is essentially just a black but kind of mottled. And it's a really simple hat, but I just have it here just to kind of pick up when I feel like knitting something straightforward. And yeah, it's, I don't know whether it's going to be for me or somewhere else, but I'm just going to knit it. I've knit a few in 2021 already of these patterns, and they're very flattering and very nice, with just basic 1x1 rib all the way round and a folded brim. So you've got that extra warmth for the ears as well. So that is in my little bird bowl. Yeah, really nice, and I'm gonna enjoy using that quite a lot now. So fairly basic hat, but it will be good to have another one of those. So next up is also in another Christmas present, because obviously my Christmas presents all involved yarn storage of some kind. So this is a beautiful bag by my friend Throw and Thread on Etsy, which I'll link to in the description below. She made me a really big basket with lots of space. So essentially she knew that I needed something for the larger sweaters that I've been making, and decided to make me this big one in order to store everything that I need for one sweater. And I really like the fact that it's got handles and this lovely drawstring section as well. So in here I am keeping my Alfeda by Jennifer Steingass, which is in grey and blue, and looking like this at the moment. So it's a circular yoke, knit top down, and it's got these lovely leafy designs on it. I am knitting this in Pluto Lopi, which looks like this. Show you the label close up. And that is Icelandic yarn, and it is unspun in plates, so it's very fragile. I believe it's about a sport weight yarn, which I think is roughly what the pattern needs, because I know that Jen actually knit her version of this sweater in this yarn, so I was pretty safe to go with this one. It's really fluffy, but I'm hoping it won't be as bad as my Arboreal, which is knit in West Yorkshire Spinners Wensleydale gems in orange, and just molts everywhere. But yeah, this is Icelandic yarn, so as you can probably expect, it's quite a stiff yarn, I would say. But it's not as sticky as Lopi, which I've tried to use before and haven't been able to for colour work, because it's just all stuck together as I've been trying to knit with it. So yeah, this is going quite well so far. I've got about 10 rows to go, I think, of the yoke section. The colour work is slower because I'm being really careful not to break the really delicate unspun yarn, but to be honest, that's absolutely fine. I haven't had that many issues with it. It's broken a couple of times, but more so because I've kind of tucked the yarn underneath one of the plates or underneath something else, and it's got caught and pulled. Actually knitting with it seems to be okay, but I'm still being very, very cautious because I don't want to be splicing the yarn back together every other stitch. And I think this is looking nice. This was supposed to be my Christmas sweater, but hey, I've got two already, so it doesn't really matter too much. But I really like the shaping around the top in terms of these like dart areas, and I really like on this pattern the fact that below these leafy sections there's a kind of zigzag line to sort of separate the colour work from the body of the sweater. So my contrast colour is the blue, which looks like this, and I can't remember what it was specifically, but I'll see if I can find out and pop it in the description. And my main colour is the grey, so this one, which is what Jen actually used in her sample as well, but she used this light grey as the body, and then used a darker grey for the contrast. But I wanted to go for this lovely galaxy kind of blue colour, because it's really lovely and vivid. In fact, I feel like I should have done it the other way around, because I just love this blue and the way that it looks. But I do have, I knit my blue mosaic cardigan in mostly blue with a bit of grey, so let's mix it up a bit. Okay, we'll go with that. And what I really like about this bag as well is that because of the way that she's made it kind of long and thin, I can actually have both the plates next to each other. So when I am knitting with the yarn, I don't have to worry so much, because previously I was kind of had a plate on top of the other, so that's how it gets caught more easily, because it gets caught on the other one and then you pull and it comes undone. And they're next to each other. I can just pull round the plate and carry on knitting and not worry so much about the yarn breaking. Just being a little bit careful not to get them caught on anything else. And yeah, it's going pretty well. So yeah, I'm almost at the end of the fun bit, and then I will probably be able to go much quicker, I think, on the stockinette of the body and the sleeves, because it's just going to be grey, so I won't be as worried about breaking it, and it will be an easy stitch. I won't be kind of carrying two colours over my finger, it will just be one that I'm knitting with as I go, so I'll likely go much faster with this yarn. But enjoying it so far. Another Jennifer Steingass pattern on the needles, so I have knit two so far, Vintersol and Arboreal, and I also have a cowl on the needles that is a Jennifer Steingass cowl. But I'm excited to have another one of her sweaters in my collection, and I'm definitely finding myself to be a sweater knitter at the moment. But yeah, really happy with my basket as well, thank you very much. And check out her Etsy shop. She's got a couple of bags on there at the moment, but also some pottery, hence being called Throat and Thread. There we go. And that is all I have in terms of progress on works in progress. So yeah, I'm just gonna veer off on a tangent a little bit and talk about the last Christmas present that I got. And that is actually this little beechwood bowl. And this is from Beyond Measure, which is beyondmeasure.co.uk, and it's a really strong magnet, surrounded by wood. So you can see in the middle I've got some pins there that I was using, that I've just popped in there, and at the bottom you can use to pick up metal, so pins and things as well, and it's really strong, so it picks up quite a lot. And this was just so that I don't end up with pins and needles and everything all over the dining room table when I'm sewing. So I've got a pot that I can just keep them in and pick them up with as well. So yeah, that was another present from my husband, and I haven't taken the bit of paper off that says where it's from. Okay. So yeah, really beautifully handmade as well. Yes. So Christmas presents are done. I'm going to talk a little bit about hand dyed yarn again, my hand dyed yarn, and that is just because obviously I dyed the beautiful kind of denim-y blue, and I just wanted to show you that I also put in some superwash mini skeins, and I think this blue will be really nice to do as a fade almost, because this was the kind of colour I was aiming for, so I got this lovely denim colour. But on the mini skeins that are superwash yarn, they are much darker, and you do tend to get that if you dye the same colour on superwash and non-superwash, because superwash yarn kind of is more, it takes the colour more vividly, and pulls in more colour more quickly. So yeah, you can see the difference there. Have a look. But I did see that at the earlier stages of this, it made a really lovely light blue. So I might see if I can dye a gradient effect with this lovely blue colour, because I'm super happy with how it turned out, and it was literally just, I thought, okay, I can mix that and that, let's see how that turns out, and it turned out really nicely. So I've noted down the recipe so that I can recreate it in future. I do need to remember that there is a difference between the superwash and non-superwash skeins, because when I write a recipe down, obviously depending on what I've tested on, it will turn out differently on whatever I diet on in future. So yeah, just wanted to point that out, and I'm quite pleased with how both of these turned out in terms of this lovely denim-y blue. Yeah, and I only did one kind of colour that particular time because I wanted to make sure I had the yarn for my friend's shawl. So that is the yarn dyeing that I've been doing. So next up I'm just going to talk a little bit about acquisitions. So I have not acquired that much. Obviously Christmas presents are a bit different, and I've spoken about those already. So one thing I did do was buy the Hamelton number 2 because I had no bulky yarn when I decided I wanted to make the Carapin socks by Rosa Pomar. And yeah, I bought this from Love Crafts. I think I wanted the tweed one, but they didn't seem to stock it. And then everywhere else I looked for the tweed, they didn't have the colours that I wanted. So I just went for this regular Hamelton number 2 and got those 2 colours. It is really lovely and soft. I can't remember how much I paid for it. I don't think it was a huge amount, but it's obviously from BC Garn, so it's 100% wool, and therefore you could use it for felting, which is important. And I saw that a few other people had also used this yarn for the Carapins project. So yeah, that's one set of acquisitions that I've already cast on, so it almost doesn't count because it goes so quickly to a finished object. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about was my advent calendar that I got from Beehive Yarns. So I'll pop a picture in here just whilst I talk about it. So I was fully intending on doing a video a day for Vlogmas, opening my advents, videoing some other things, but work has been ridiculously busy for this time of year, and I've been working late. I haven't had the energy to do things. Obviously I had COVID as well in towards the end of November, so I was recovering from that, and I just couldn't manage to keep it going. So although I do have all of the videos, I edited one set and it wouldn't upload. So I decided to give up. But it basically means that I have an advent calendar that to be honest I kind of bought for the purpose of doing Vlogmas, but also a lovely advent calendar that I opened every day, recorded unwrapping, and maybe I'll use those videos at some point and just do a bit of a cut for, you know, quick unwrap, something else and so on, a bit like the pause videos that Yarn Flakes does, which I quite enjoy, just background music, no sound, just her doing things. So I might do something like that later, but I wanted to show you all the lovely array of colours that I ended up with. This was the Cozy and Warm Advent Calendar, and it was based on this kind of mood board put together by Beth of Beehive Yarns, and I opted for DK weight yarn, and that is simply because I am more likely to use it. I still have last year's 10-gram minis in sock weight yarn from the advent calendar I got from Nora George that are absolutely beautiful, but I don't do heels and toes of socks. To be honest, I haven't finished a pair of socks this year, so what opportunities do I have to use those bits of yarn? Whereas with DK weight yarn, either I make one big project and it goes fairly quickly, or I use it for the brim on hats. And actually, popping the picture on here, I think I'll look into doing a full project. I might do a shawl or something and just fade all of these together, because I know they are supposed to be a fade. They're not kind of one-off colours, you know, they gradually change from one thing to the next. But I haven't found the right thing yet. So please do give me your ideas if you know of anything that I might be able to knit in DK weight yarn, that's some kind of shawl that I can use 20-gram DK minis all together for in a fade effect. Yeah, let me know if you spotted anything. I'll probably have a browse of Instagram and Ravelry, see what I can find, and see if anyone kind of pops up having actually made something with their own Beehive Yarns DK Advent minis as well. So yeah, I was really happy to have bought that. I'm definitely pleased that I went for the DK rather than the fingering weight. I don't know what I would have done with all of that fingering weight yarn, so happy to have decided on that. And the colours are beautiful. Thank you so much, Beth, for putting such a lovely array of yarn together. Lastly, I just wanted to talk a little bit about past and future knitting. So the first thing is I want to have a little look at the languishing whips that I have. So things that are in bags that I haven't knit for a while, that I'm not sure about anymore. And funnily enough, one of those is my Lightwood Cowl by Jennifer Steingass. So obviously I was getting on quite well with this. If you're a consistent viewer, you might remember from the summer that I was, you know, knitting away on this, having fun and all of that. And I think my problem is I've gone off grey. So I have been knitting this in what's the yarn again? Cumbria Fingering by the Fibre Company. That's it. And that is the grey colour. And the contrast is Shoppable Zauberball Starker 6 in Chocolendensite, which is also a lovely colour. And it does look really cool. But I'm not sure I am going to be wearing a mostly grey cowl. And I know the idea is to have a background colour that offsets the lovely colour work, so that you can see it all. But I look at it and I'm like, it's just grey. I don't know. So it's kind of been sitting there waiting for me to finish. Maybe I finish it and I give it as a gift. I don't know. But I'm also hoping that when I block it, the yarn from the Zauberball will kind of pop out a little bit more. And it does look very cool still. But yeah, I'm not 100%. I wonder if I did this with a cream yarn, whether it might look better rather than the grey. Because it's quite a medium grey as well. It's not a light grey. So it looks kind of like the sky it has been the last 2 weeks in the UK, where it's just grim. And maybe that's it. Maybe that's what I'm associating it with. But basically it's on a I might frog this and restart pile, even though I've done quite a lot of knitting. To be fair, I've enjoyed the knitting and I've enjoyed seeing the colour changes happen. But I just think there's something that isn't really making me enthusiastic about it, and I think it is the underlying colour. So watch this space. I might end up giving away loads of grey yarn later this year because I've decided I don't like it anymore. But I do tend to knit a lot of grey, so I guess at some point I've just got to go, yeah, I'd like to start knitting in a different colour, please. So yeah, and this one is in my Clara Rose Crafts Marauders Map bag, which has these lovely handles, and I really like this bag. And I will link to her in the description below as well. So yeah, that is something that is on the maybe frog pile. I'll have a think about it and a look. Let me know what you guys think, but I feel like I've been on and off this project for a while. So yeah, let me know what your ideas are. Maybe I should go for a cream or something and then it would really stand out. We'll see. So yeah, that's one thing. The other thing that I have sort of sitting there waiting is the 2 pairs of socks that I cast on in the beginning of the beginning of 2021 and the end of 2020. So the first one of those is in my Quince pie bag, which is a sock knitting bag, and the only reason this hasn't been finished is that I just don't really feel like knitting socks. So it is a really nice yarn. It's West Yorkshire Spinners Silent Night, which is sparkly and blue and lovely, and I started to make this kind of slip stitch pattern at the top, which looks quite cool. I was just going to do an afterthought heel, had everything planned. I did this as my Christmas Eve cast on for 2020, and I haven't even got through one sock. It's over a year later and I haven't got through one sock, and I think it's just I don't feel like knitting socks anymore. I don't know whether I ever really did. I admire all these people who have so much sock knitting mojo. One of my friends from craft group is just a sock knitter through and through, knits socks constantly, and I just can't. I'm a sweater knitter, I think. I need the bigger projects with the thicker weight yarn that I can wear and show off visibly. I think that's the thing. I can have nice socks, but I feel like if I want to show something off and what I'm capable of, a sweater's the best way to do it. I get lots of compliments on my sweaters, and then I go, oh, I made it, and they go, what? Did you seriously? Whereas socks are so hidden, and they're quite complicated. I don't know, unless you're knitting just a tube, which is effectively a cowl, and obviously you can add the heel later and all of that, but I don't think they fit me as well. So yeah, that's there. I either need to pick that up and finish it, or I need to frog it and do something else with the yarn. So that's a decision I will need to make at some point. I also have another pair of socks on the needles that I don't have here. I couldn't find it, and that is out of my hand-dyed yarn, the first skein I made, which was actually a donut made out of a sock blank, so a 2-stranded sock blank. So basically I created a gradient, and my idea was that I was going to knit 2 at a time knee-high socks with those, but I've got about that far on them. So again, I need to do something with that. I need to carry it on. To be honest, I think that's going to be one of those projects that sits there, and then when I feel like knitting socks, I'll knit on that, because I want to have those socks one day, and I also want to see how the yarn knits up. So I figure I'll just carry on with those, and they're just simple stockinette socks. I didn't think there was any need to do anything special. So yeah, that's another thing that's just sitting there at the moment. Another one that I have is sitting in this bag with a few pins on it. This one is from another one of my craft group friends who does laser cutting. So it's a little yarn ball, and some of the cats from and cat in bag, and yeah, sheep from Knit Picks. So I love this bag. This is from Pink Hazel. I got it a long time ago. It was the first project bag I bought. It's quite expensive when I bought it, and it's had a whip in it for a really long time that I've hardly touched. So yeah, my whip is the Solaris shawl by Melanie Berg, and one of the reasons I haven't touched this for a really long time is that it is from a pattern in a book. And you have to focus really hard on this pattern. I will see if I can find a picture so I can pop it here. But I'm knitting it out of this lovely yarn, which is Dye Done. Really nice yarn. So it's got these sections of stripes in different colours, and I've gone for kind of burgundies and pinks. but you have to focus on every single row because it's quite a complex pattern in terms of the shape and what you have to do constantly. And I have it in Melanie Berg's book Shawls, which I got as a birthday present a couple of years ago. And I do really want to carry on with it, but it's so brain oriented. I don't know, I can't do this and do something else, whereas most of the knitting that I do in front of the TV, watching something or listening to a podcast, or, you know, whilst I'm playing D&D. And even things like my husband's sweater pattern, there were so many points where I didn't need to look at the pattern, I could just carry on. I knew when to decrease, I knew when to increase, it was good. This one seems incredibly complicated relative to other things that I've knit, especially shawls. So not only that, but I also have to have a book in front of me, so I can't just keep track of it on my iPad. So if I want to take it somewhere, I can't knit it on the go, and it's just a little bit more awkward for me to do. So again, no, you know what, I do want to carry on with this. What I should do is, once I've finished a couple more projects, maybe when I finish the shawl that I'm knitting at the moment, I'm gonna pick this up and carry on with it. Because I'm at home most of the time at the moment with the changes to the world over the last couple of years, there isn't any reason for me to have a book in front of me and knit. I just need to focus my brain and keep track. And I do really like the colours now. I wasn't sure about them to begin with, but I am definitely going towards that kind of pinky burgundy, light pink colour as well. I need to free up the project bag for something else. So yeah, I just thought I'd do a little review of what I've got on the needles. Obviously I've also got my staff blanket, which is another one of those where I will just pick it up and put it down as I go. I still haven't had the courage to go back and work out what I did wrong on the last row with the 550 stitches on the needles that I'm gonna have to unpick, but I'll come to that at some point. And then what else have I got? I've got a couple of kind of shawls that I've started but not really done much with. Again, I could decide to rip out, but I might just again pick them up, have a little go, see what I think, and then decide. Yeah, but I have a lot of whips which is my main problem at the moment, and the reason I just wanted to do a little review of what I've got. But I will let you know if I rip anything out in the next episode. I might video myself doing it as well, just so that you can have the satisfaction as well. Yeah, so let's move on to what I want to knit next. So my number one thing is more sweaters, because I just seem to always want to knit sweaters. So the first one that I'm going to do is the Weekender by Andrea Mowry, which I've had yarn for a while. So I've got the Dererum Natura Gilliatt in Ciel, which is the really light blue colourway, and that is just beautiful. I'm going to enjoy that sweater so much. If you don't know already, the Weekender is quite a kind of relaxed weekend sweater. It's got kind of a boat neck style neckline with ribbing all the way across, almost like a square, and it just looks really cozy, so I'm gonna go for making one of those soon. The one after that is Airy by Isabel Kramer. I have some Dererum Natura Ulysse in I think Confiture de Rose in the pink colour, that's been sitting there to make this. So this was a pattern in Liner magazine issue 4, which was the first one that I bought. I really wanted to make this. It's got this lovely central cable, cable lace detail, and it's knit in sportwear yarn, so I'm hoping that will be nice for the spring. The next one is Hide and Peak by Maxim Sear, and I'm going to probably make this with my husband, but I might make myself one as well. I don't know. I just enjoyed knitting the hat so much that I decided to get the sweater as well, and it just looks fantastic. I think it's such a simple design, simple colour work, and it looks amazing. And then the other one, so in my 4, is going to be the Brandle How by Natura Hornby, which is knit in Fibre Company Law. So I bought some of that recently. I showed it off in a couple of episodes ago, and it's kind of dark green, kind of moss green colour. And yeah, I'm gonna knit that. And then the other one that I've got prepared is more Dererum Natura Ulysse for the Surrey by Jennifer Steingass, which is another pattern that I want to do for the spring. So I'm hoping to get all 5 of those done this year. I can't remember how many sweaters I managed in 2021. I think it was about 5, if you included tops as well. But yeah, I did also make the mosaic cardigan, which was a beast. 700 grams of yarn, and yeah, a lot of knitting to go into that. So yeah, they're the sweaters I want to knit. I also have quite a lot of other projects in my queue. I want to knit a few more hats and try and do the same thing as I did this year for charity. I raised quite a lot of money, both as donations, purchase of hats, and also sent some hats to Hats for the Homeless, and they got a ridiculous number of hats. It's great that so many people were willing to knit for charity. So given that that went so well, and I used up quite a lot of my stash, but I do still have a bag of yarn that I need to use, I'll probably carry on with that in 2022 and see how I get on. Because I've enjoyed testing out new patterns, I've enjoyed knitting the hats themselves. I'm not going to put myself under so much pressure to knit one a week. I think I'll just cast on a hat, knit a hat, and then cast on another hat as soon as I've finished it. And just have rolling hats rather than one hat a week, because I think that, I guess, diverted a bit much from other projects a lot of the time. And I think I could have probably got more sweaters and other things done. So I am going to do that again, but not put too much pressure on myself. And my aim will probably be to use patterns that I already own rather than anything that I buy new. I did a lot of free patterns last year and actually made quite a good list, which I'm really pleased with, of the ones that I really enjoy making. So it's been a success overall. I'm really pleased with that. If you do still want to donate and I get in there before the 31st, which I think is when my Just Giving page ends, I will pop the link in the description below as well. So yeah, welcome 2022. I hope that year is filled with all sorts of crafting, much happiness, that we're able to go out a bit more, and that COVID goes away. I think everybody hopes that, right? So I will speak to you in a couple of weeks' time. Happy crafting, and enjoy the start of the new year. Bye.